Okay. The Jesuits have been planning a war with Islam for at least 100 years. And this is their crusade to kill off primarily the Shia. Because the Shia, the leadership, the high endman of the Shia is regarded as infallible and divine, unlike the Sunnis. The leaders of the Sunni is considered merely a temporal prince. So there can only be one man on the earth that's regarded as infallible and divine.
And that's the Pope.
And that's the Pope. So anybody that threatens that position has to be removed. That's why they would not allow Japan to surrender. They demanded unconditional surrender to humiliate the emperor, and that he would no longer be regarded as divine by the Japanese people. That's why they captured the Dalai Lama in 1959, took him out of Tibet, because there can be no leader of the Buddhists who's regarded as divine, because he can't be, because he's been captured. He's been taken out by the CIA. So the same thing has to happen to the Shia. The Shia are going to be mass murdered, as they are now being murdered in Iraq.
That's why they're planning the war with Iran, because Iran is predominantly Shia.
That's correct. That's why the war has to go into Iran. And so once the Shia are mass murdered to the desire of the Jesuit order, then they are going to use the Sunnis in conjunction with the Chinese and the Soviets for a Sino-Soviet Muslim invasion into the United States after they have used the military of the U.S. for its purposes in the Far East and in the Middle East. So we want to go back to 9/11. How do we put all of this crusade into motion? The same way we did it at Pearl Harbor. We're going to have the Japanese emperor and FDR, these two high-level Freemasons, work together under the control of the Jesuits to then bring about the Pearl Harbor incident, to then justify war and a declaration of war against the Japanese people. So that's what they've done with 9/11. They have the Saudi king, who is a high-level Freemason, and the Bush dynasty, which is Masonic, as well as Knight of Malta, because George Herbert Walker's brother, Prescott Bush Jr., is a Knight of Malta.
Wow.
So they're working to, and remember, Jeb's in the fourth degree Knight of Columbus. So you have the Knights of Columbus, Skull and Bones, Knights of Malta, high-level Freemasonry, all consolidated in the Bush family alone.
Right.
So they therefore, having George Bush as president, they used Edward. Remember, the Jesuits always have a major university adjacent to a powerful archbishop. We see this in Munich, we see it in Paris, we see it in London, and we see it in New York. Yep. In New York, the Archbishop of New York being Edward Cardinal Egan, a Knight of Malta, the head of the all three tongues of the Knights of Malta in the United States, because there's three branches of the tongue here. He was given the order and overseen by the Jesuits at Fordham University, men like Avery Cardinal Dulles, who is the son of John Foster Dulles, who was a Knight of Malta and the pen holder of President Eisenhower, who is the nephew of Allen Dulles, who was also a Knight of Malta and the former head of the CIA. This very same Avery Cardinal Dulles, a Jesuit and a Knight of Malta, oversaw Cardinal Egan in the conspiracy to bring down the World Trade Center and to blow up the part of the Pentagon, and the man that Cardinal Egan used as the centerpiece for this was one of his favorite Knights of Malta, the director of Central Intelligence Agency at the time, on the Council of National Security Council, George J. Tenet. George J. Tenet was educated by the Jesuits at Georgetown. He went to their School of Foreign Service. He was absolutely the key figure in this. And what did they do for him? They let him retire, and they gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Right.
So once they did this, and they brought down the World Trade Center, and the World Trade Center was built to be destroyed, just like the Titanic was built to be sunk. They didn't weld any of the X-bracing in the World Trade Center, and I was told that by a Boston architect who was part of the designer of the World Trade Center. And they couldn't figure out why they were bolting the X-braces and not welding them. So it was designed to bring down, and when they brought it down, they immediately have their Oswald, where they can blame him, Osama bin Laden, and then justify this crusade. And when they launched their crusade into Afghanistan, they launched that crusade on October 7th, 2001. And when October 7th is a very key day, because that's the very same day, October 7th, that the Holy Roman Empire launched its war, its greatest naval sea battle against the Muslims, against Suleiman the Magnificent, in 1591 or 1571. I have it in my slide projection, but it was October 7th. So it's a crusade, just like the Battle of Lepanto, and the Knights won that crusade. So the Knights are going to win this one too. And they will sacrifice every man, woman, and child in this country. They will spend every penny that we have for the securing of their Latin kingdom of Jerusalem, to the detriment of the Jews who live there, as well as for the urban renewal that they are putting Iraq through so they can rebuild Babylon. And the beginning of the rebuilding of Babylon is the building of Dubai.
And that's why Dubai has become such a center for financial power.
Correct. And that's why the Knights have moved all their infrastructure into Europe and into Dubai. As you know, Halliburton moved from Houston to Dubai just last year.
Right. Mm-hmm. What about the one project that's commonly stated amongst everybody involved in the 9/11 truth movement is the Project for the New American Century, where most of the people that are in Bush's government now were part of this project. And they talked about they needed a new Pearl Harbor. Was there a Jesuit connection there too?
Absolutely. The Jesuits run the Project for the New American Century through the Council on Foreign Relations, and also through the that conservative group. What's it called? I can't remember. But you have all these pseudo-Christian conservatives that are a member of it.
ACLU.
Oh, what is it? It's like a not ACLU. It's another one.
It's a conservative think tank, right?
It's a conservative think tank. I mean, that includes Heritage Foundation. It's all run by the Knights of Malta and Opus Dei. But yes, they had their new Pearl Harbor in 9/11. That's where the Reichstag fire. Just like the Reichstag fire, they blame the communists. So now they're going to, since there's no more communist threat, quote unquote, they're going to blame the Muslims, or they blame the quote unquote these Saudis, which I find so contradictory, because without Saudi Arabia there is no crusade into Iraq.
Right.
Without the Wahhabis, which are Sunnis really, there is no ongoing crusade. So it's in the best interest of the Wahhabis there, who hate the Shia and regard them as heretics, to continue this crusade to kill off their rivals, just as the Jesuits killed off all the Protestants to consolidate all power in the Roman Catholicism and the papacy.
What would you say the most powerful intelligence agency is in the world, Eric?
Well, I would say that the Vatican is a very powerful intelligence agency, but it's just a coordinating agency. As far as carrying out the hits, the assassinations, the enforcement, I would have to say most assuredly it's the CIA working in conjunction with the NSA. That would be the most powerful, in conjunction with British intelligence, because those three agencies control all of Soviet intelligence, all the Far East intelligence, all Israeli intelligence. So it's an historic Anglo-American countries that the Jesuits have controlled, at least in England, for the last 200 years, and for this country in the last 100 years.
So what is the NRO then? National Reconnaissance or Organization? I heard that was actually above the NSA, but it's never talked about.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure much about that, but I'm sure that the Jesuits have their agencies that are high, like what was that, Majesty 12 and others. So, but whatever it is, they control it, because the Jesuits are the master intelligence gatherers, and they were that way as early as 1844, when Eugene Sue wrote his Wandering Jew, and he has that tremendous section in there on Jesuit intelligence, how they keep intelligence on everybody.
What is the Jason Society?
The Jason Society, I believe, has to do with the Pilgrims also, and Le Cercle in Europe. So it is a high noble blood society where you do find the crusading orders in it too.
Okay, because Bill Cooper mentions them as being the elite of the elite.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it, but again, in the